The Heaven Saga has finally begun, and with the first chapter being released, several possibilities have been created in this story. The underworld is in ruins, but the remaining servants of Hades are appearing. With the underworld destroyed, a new possibility has also emerged. The prisons of Tartarus would be open for the return of the 13th Gold Saint. Hello, Saints and Amazons. Welcome to the Semperquis Saber channel. I'm Wes. And in today's video, I'm going to show you an absolutely fantastic and frightening theory about the future of Saint Seiya, analyzing how the catastrophic events at the beginning of the Heaven Saga can trigger the ultimate awakening of a forgotten threat. This is the return of the evil Asclepius. Are you curious to know how this is going to happen? Then go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and let's get into this awesome video. When Pegasus, Seiya, and the other bronze saints achieved the ultimate miracle of awakening, the divine cloths, and with the help of Athena's great staff, they pierced the heart of the Emperor of the Underworld. A chain reaction of cosmic proportions was set in motion. Hades was not just an authoritarian ruler. His immense, dark, divine cosmo was the fundamental force that sustained the entire structure of the underworld. With the definitive death of the true body of the god of the dead, the entire spiritual realm he had shaped since the mythological era began to collapse instantly. The Meikai, the courts of judgment, the infernal prisons, and even the utopian paradise of the Elysium began to disappear into the void. It is precisely in this scene of devastation that we find the first major piece of our theory. Within the vast geography of the underworld in Saint Seiya, there is a region even deeper, darker, and more terrifying than the 8 conventional prisons of Tartarus. Unlike the areas intended for punishing ordinary human souls, Tartarus serves as a true maximum security prison, an endless abyss specifically designed by the Olympian gods to bury the threats that endangered the sovereignty of Zeus and his brothers. It is there that the first-generation titans and other mythological entities of immense power were locked away under indestructible sacred seals. According to the oldest records in the history of the sanctuary, it was exactly in Tartarus that the soul of Asclepius, the legendary and banished 13th Gold Saint of Ophiuchus, was sealed after daring to challenge the natural order of the universe. With the total destruction of the underworld caused by the fall of Hades, the pillars that kept Tartarus isolated from the rest of the cosmos inevitably suffered catastrophic cracks or were completely annihilated. Without the spiritual pressure of Hades' cosmo to keep the prisoners contained, the invisible chains that bound the most dangerous souls of myth began to give way. The soul of Asclepius, who had accumulated immeasurable resentment and a desire for revenge against Athena and all of Olympus over millennia, finally found a breach in the weakened barrier of the abyss. However, a soul, no matter how divine or powerful it may be, needs a physical host to fully manifest in the material plane of the living. Without a physical body at his immediate disposal in the present time, the wandering essence of Asclepius had to direct his spiritual perception in search of the perfect host, someone connected to his cursed legacy by blood, constellation, or fate. Asclepius was not an ordinary knight. He was considered the wisest, most benevolent, and most powerful among all of Athena's defenders from the mythological era. His knowledge of medicine, anatomy, and the use of healing herbs was so advanced that he was able to cure any disease. He could instantly close mortal wounds and eventually perform the ultimate miracle of bringing the dead back to life. This ability to defy the laws of mortality made people begin to worship him not only as a hero, but as a true living god on earth. The worship of the masses fueled Asclepius' arrogance. He came to believe that his healing power made him superior to the Olympian gods themselves, who unleashed plagues and punishments upon mortals while he saved them. By trying to equate himself with the deities and demanding control of the sanctuary itself, he aroused Athena's fury. As punishment for his excessive audacity, his imposing temple was completely demolished and swallowed by the earth. His existence was erased from all historical records of the sanctuary, and his soul was sentenced to eternal confinement in Tartarus. The constellation of Ophiuchus, which once held the highest status of gold, was demoted and fragmented, reappearing in later eras under the category of silver armor, a way the gods found to weaken and humiliate the legacy of the traitor. ensuring that none of his successors could ever reach that divine level again. In the 18th century, the legacy of that cursed soul manifested in the figure of Odysseus of Ophiuchus. Odysseus was a man of pure kindness, a silver saint and the sanctuary's doctor, who dedicated every second of his existence to saving the lives of the young gold saints of that generation. He donated his own precious blood, performed impossible surgeries, and sacrificed his own physical health to ensure that Shion, Doko, Ox, Kaiser, and all the other gold saints of the past could survive to fulfill their destinies. However, this extreme altruism hid a silent tragedy. Odysseus's body was being progressively prepared and modified to serve as the resurrection cocoon for the dormant consciousness of Asclepius. When the temple of Ophiuchus emerged from underground during the holy war against Hades in the past, Asclepius's Cosmo awakened within the resurrected body of Odysseus, beginning an imposing march through the 12 houses to demand the loyalty of the saints and assassinate the young Athena. After meeting Athena and having the consciousness of that body oscillate between the soul of Asclepius and Odysseus, we know that the goddess's arrow was the magical item needed to seal Asclepius's soul once again in Tartarus. Odysseus also healed all the gold saints and returned to rest in the ruins of the house of Ophiuchus, while Athena and the bronze saints returned to the future. This is where our attention turns entirely to the current era of the sanctuary, focusing specifically on Sheena of Ophiuchus, the charismatic and powerful Silver Amazon. During the events that take place parallel to the time travel in Next Dimension, we see that Sheena began to display extremely bizarre and frightening behavior. While she was protecting Seiya's body, who was in a wheelchair, she ended up trying to kill Pegasus. Marine, however, stops her. And while the Eagle Saint was trying to understand Seiya's disappearance and the temporal anomalies affecting the sanctuary, Sheena was inexplicably drawn to an isolated and forgotten region of the 12 zodiac houses. In that hidden place, buried by time, lay the ruins of the ancient temple of Ophiuchus, the 13th house that had been erased. As she approached those ancient stones, Sheena not only felt a crushing pressure in her chest, but her own Cosmo began to fluctuate in a violent and dark way. Her personality was temporarily subdued by a vastly stronger external force. She even attacked Marin aggressively. This partial possession and the hypnotic trance that Sheena experienced in Next Dimension were not mere coincidences, nor just a simple side effect of the space-time distortion caused by Kronos. It was the definitive proof that the soul of Asclepius was already extending his spiritual tentacles through the ages, finding in Sheena a perfect cosmic resonance for him to return in the Heaven Arc. Historically, in the universe of Saint Seiya, the choice of a host by a deity or a mythological spirit requires an extreme biological and astral compatibility. We see this with Julian Solo and Shun of Andromeda, who were born under specific stars to host the souls of Poseidon and Hades, respectively. In the case of Asclepius, Sheena carries the title and protection of the Ophiuchus constellation in the modern era, just as Desil was the Silver Saint in the 18th century. Even though it's a silver rank, the stellar link that connects her to the figure of the Serpent Bearer creates a direct channel for possession. Asclepius realized that Sheena's psychological resistance was already weakened due to the constant battles and the stress of protecting the empty sanctuary, making her the ideal and most vulnerable target for a definitive spiritual invasion in the Zeus Saga, and formally starting the battle against Athena and the gods of Olympus. With the underworld being destroyed and the specters returning, it is likely that Tartarus is also in pieces, and that Asclepius's soul is finally free to claim a new host. Sheena of Ophiuchus would be the best choice for this in the current era, and picturing Sheena in this position as an antagonist and unwilling participant brings an incredible dramatic weight to the development of the Zeus Saga. Marin of Eagle, her respected rival, will probably be the first to notice the drastic change and will have the painful mission of confronting her to try to bring her back to sanity. The Bronze Saints, especially Seiya of Pegasus, who has a very deep emotional and historical bond with Sheena, will suffer a tremendous psychological blow. Seiya, who spent his life being protected by Sheena in the most critical moments, will find himself facing the ultimate dilemma: how to fight a divine-level threat without destroying the body of the woman who so many times sacrificed her own life to keep him alive. Share your thoughts on this theory in the comments, and thanks for watching to the end. See you next time. Burn your Cosmo to infinity.